everyone. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and we are live on, I want to make sure I'm recording this too. We are live on YouTube, and I'm really excited about this. I hope you guys will bear with me because it's the first time I've gone live with this platform. So it's something a little bit different here for me. So I want to make sure we're doing it correctly. And yeah. Hello, everyone. Oh, we can hear. Okay, so I can hear it. All right, you guys, I want to thank you so much for bearing with us. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am Cece Schatz, a doyen of relationship building. I would like to thank you so much for joining us here today, and each and every day that we do a live broadcast. We're going to have several here on YouTube, so I hope that you'll join us each and every time. But I want to ask a favor of you. I would like to ask you to please like our videos, maybe make a comment, let us know what you do like about it. If you don't like something, share it with us. If you'd like for us to do something, maybe more directed to what it is that you'd like to listen to, we would love that. And if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, we would also be so appreciative of that. Those of you that follow us on Facebook, of course, we're right there for you. Like what you like and let us know how you feel about everything. We would love to be able to continue that. So all of you, we're on goingsolomedia.com. And we're going to move right forward to our show today, which I am so thrilled. Our guest is being very, very patient. She's waiting for us to introduce her. And we have with us Sandra Ford Walston. Thank you so much for waiting with us. I appreciate that.
Well, Cece, I wouldn't get too carried away to say that patience was one of my virtues.
Well, let me tell the audience a little bit about you. We've known each other for years now. You're a global speaker. You're also known as the courage expert. You really, you teach people, you help them, they grow, and to really claim their courage. And we so appreciate that. You do a lot of other things. You're also a coach. You're an author of 3 books, and we'll talk about a little bit about that because I'd like to be able to have people know a little bit more about you. You do a lot of things to really help people move forward in their lives. And so you're a coach, you're a speaker, you just your being is really helps those. And so we want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. But before we start, I want to make sure everybody knows about, she's got other books, but we are so lucky to have this book, and we're going to be giving this book away here on our station. All you have to do to win it, and let me tell you what it is, it's Courage, the Art and Spirit of Every Woman, Reclaiming the Forgotten Virtue.
So it's not art, Cece, it's heart.
Heart. The heart and spirit of every woman. It's the courage and reclaiming the forgotten virtue. And by Sandra Ford Walston right here is the book. So we're going to give this book away with compliments of Sandra. She's been so gracious to give this to us. All you have to do to win it is to just write in "Win Courage" on any of our social media platforms. I'm going to be monitoring that to make sure you have between today, which is the 16th, through to the end of the month, the 31st. And we're going to put your name in a hat. We're going to draw it out. Also, another way to win is if you go to our website, goingsolomedia.com, and you register for our talker. You can also win it that way. Anyone that has registered for our talker at the beginning of the month in January. So we're going to do the whole month of January. So they're also going to be in the running for this. So if you'd like to win this book, I will mail it to you personally. And here's your copy of it. And it comes right straight out of our studio. So I want you guys to know that it is here available. We'll talk about it towards the end of the show too, so you guys have all the information down. So let's move on with our show. Sandra, tell us a little bit about how did you get into doing what you're doing? How did you start? Like, what did you wake up one day and say, I am going to be a courage expert? How did you
I got dumped by my fiance. What can I say? Somebody said, I said in a speech that, well, I had been dumped. I moved from California to Colorado with my fiance. And 5 months after I moved here, he dumped me and went back to California. And this lady said, don't tell people you've been dumped. You sound like a victim. And I said, well, let me get you really clear about that. I was dumped and I'm not a victim. So in that dark night of the soul, a voice came to me, and I always tell people, please don't call 911. It was a voice, it was a calling to say, you know, you need to reinvent yourself. We women are good at doing that, reinventing, but you also need to write books to awaken women to the benefits of feminine courage. I was like a cosmic joke, like, you've got to be kidding. I'm not a writer. I don't like writing. I can't do it. And so eventually, after 2 years, and I had a couple of friends, I rolled up my sleeves and I said, okay, what was that calling about? And that's where I jumped in. And first two books are for women, and the third one is non-gender. So sometimes the message comes in places where, you know, you're down in the dumps.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, this whole platform has been built around really going through a very challenging time in my life, and I think in other people's lives. They tune in, they listen, because you know they're going through the challenges, the same challenges that I've been through, and some of the other hosts and guests that are on the station. So I understand that totally. When you have a challenge in your life, sometimes you have to dig deep and say, what am I to learn from this? You know, what direction can I go? Where can I go? You know, take this forward, moving forward. So we're going to talk today about facing, you know, face your courage. So share with us a little bit about that. What's your philosophy on your courage?
Well, when we talk about courage to face it, it's trying to learn to be more present. So I faced it that, yes, I was dumped and I needed to make friends, and I was going to continue to step up. I was not going to be reluctant. So I started researching, how do you write a book? How do you get published? You know, what would be perceived as valuable in our culture, such as doing a lot of research. All three of my books are all based on research. And and step up to face it. So many times we're reluctant. Somebody's coming in behind you. So
it's my dad.
Oh,
Dad, live on YouTube, Dad.
Oh, I didn't know he was on.
No, that's okay. That's my
dad. So many times when that happens, we don't step up because we're reluctant. And we go into this chatter in our head about why, well, if you don't like writing and you were never good in writing, how could you be a writer? Well, you know, I was challenged by 1,000%, but I learned. So when we face it, we want to be able to, for one thing, recognize the red flags. So many of us are just turn a blind eye, like, oh, I don't really see that. So then the first red flag is gone, but our gut is telling us, you know, that there's a red flag there. Then a second red flag, a third red flag, a fourth red flag. You know, it's like being in a bad relationship. Like, how many red flags do I need before I finally act to this? So red flags and not going into denial would be a couple of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that so often we have challenges in our lives, and you know, and my dad, you can see that, you know, he's in a wheelchair. We have things that we have to face and we have to do. And when things happen in our lives, when we see that we should be doing something different, you know, we should be able to, you know, maybe, like you said, those red flags are happening, and we could say to ourselves, you know, this isn't really going to work for me. Why am I doing this? Can I move forward in a different direction? We don't, you know, we still just head forward, right straight into that, you know, disaster area that we know that's going to be taking place. So
it's what I call stuck thinking. I trademarked it. It's stuck thinking. What happens is we get stuck in a false self story, and we don't actually know we're doing this false self story over and over, because it's embedded from when we were like 0 to 7. It's a story that we bought into of our false self, and then we perpetuate it. See, it's true. See, didn't I tell you it's true? I can't keep a relationship. See, I'm not good at this. See, and so somewhere back from 0 to 7, that story we had to adapt in our childhood, whatever it was, to that kind of story, and we have to be able to overcome that story so that we can start to stay present, or what I call courage centeredness, and to being able to be present to make the best choices to be able to get out. So that, you know, just to do a sidebar, Cece, life is precious. You know, we think we have it forever, but I'm an 11th hour hospice volunteer. And this past Sunday, in my volunteer monthly time period at the Denver Hospice, I sat with a woman who was 49, had ovarian cancer that had metastasized to her liver. I don't think she thought she was going to die at 49. but she was. So, I don't mean to be glum, but it's about being centered in your heart. So let me stop right there and say what I mean by courage. What I mean is the etymology of the word courage, meaning heart and spirit. So I don't sell fear. I don't create the duality of courage and fear, because that's what our culture does. It wants to create courage. And so unless my knees are clicking and my teeth are chattering, how can I possibly have courage? I also don't think that courage is around the sensational, the amazing, the tragic, the scandalous, or glamorizing the superficial. It's about coming from your heart. I haven't done any of the stepping stones in my life that are sensational, the amazing, whatever. But every one of my stepping stones, just like yours, Cece, and your listeners, all have stepping stones that represent courage, but we discount them. When I say to women, wow, and they tell me a story, and I say, well, I really admire that story of courage around, let's say, standing in your convictions. Most women will say, I just do what I need to do. And we discount it because it's not sensational, amazing, tragic, scandalous.
Yeah, I so agree with you. And you men too. I don't like to leave men out of it, but there's often things that we do in our lives that, really we've had to be steadfast in our beliefs and be able to hang on to what we have. And just the resilience of that is courage within itself.
I just recently, I was at a finance meeting, and these two men walked in, and I could hear one of the men say, my wife, she's just so courageous, and I just thought, gosh darn it, men are comfortable using the word courage, but we women aren't. We're not okay with that word. No, me, courageous, haven't done anything. Sometimes when I'm teaching or training a program, a man will say, hey, I can tell you right now, my wife or my mother is courageous. And I'll say, would you do me a favor? And next time you're with them, your wife or whatever, your mother, just say to them, honey, I'm just curious. Do you have courage? And I want you to call me or email me and tell me how she responded. It's always the same thing every time. It's always, well, I just did what I had to do. Now, when I say that to a woman and she goes, well, I just did what I had to do, I say, do you know you just discounted my compliment? Because we've got to overcome that. So yeah. The thing with men is that only 11% of women perceive themselves as courageous. For men, I haven't done the same kind of research collection, but I would guess that it's about 43 to 48%. That's just my guess over 25 years of research. But they start moving into bravery. Once again, I'm not talking about fear or bravery. I'm talking about heart and spirit. You see, my hands always go to my heart. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true though. It's amazing. Really the things and what we do from within. And I think women, if we are talking about women, I think the things that we do from within, it can be the smallest thing, but because it's something that's maybe out of the norm, and it takes your heart and your spirit to be able to move forward in it. It's definitely a courageous act, and we don't really give it credit for that, because I wonder sometimes if it's because we're raised in an environment that you just have to gut it up and just do what you need to do and move forward. And women tend to be kind of quick action, because we raise children. So we're always putting fires out. We're always, if this isn't going to work, we'll do this, we'll do that. And so and that to me is very courageous, because you're constantly, using your mind, your wit, your strength, and to be able to keep that ball rolling, keep it going,
But you use the phrase, we just got to do what I've got to do. I mean, there you go, discounting it, mm-hmm. The stepping stones in your life. So when I was dumped, that was a major stepping stone in my life. And look at what it catapulted. It catapulted my calling. But, for people, men and women, we both tend to discount, and courage is a big word. I mean, Aristotle said that courage was the first of the virtues, making all the other virtues possible. I named one: patience. Mm-hmm. There's grace. There's compassion. Most people can't even name 10 virtues. So it's really important to recognize that, you do have this reservoir of courage that you can draw from, and utilize it in a way that takes energy and that creates your life. So in your 11th hour, if you're in hospice, you're not going to be filled with misgivings, regrets, anger, bitterness. You will have lived your true self, whatever that may be.
You know, I wonder at times. My mother was died of cancer, breast cancer, and I know that when it became, her time, she became extremely peaceful. Very, very at
Accepting.
yeah, accepting. That's it, and so very peaceful. So that to me is a bit of courageous. That's the heart, the spirit, everything moving. Within her. For sure.
Absolutely. Acceptance as to where her journey was at that time, and not being filled. A lot of the people I sit with will be agitated. They'll be,
right.
And you just know that there's a lot of bitterness or whatever emotion is in there. I wrote an article called "In My 11th Hour, I Wish I'd Had More Courage." It's a very up article, and your listeners can Google it and find it. But in my 11th hour, I wish I had more courage. So it's just really important that right now, what I would challenge your listeners to think about is this question: what couple of questions? What courageous conversation have I been putting off? Because we all have one.
Yeah.
Well, I'll wait for the right time. Well, the mood's not right. Well, it's this or that. And the other one is, what would I do right now if I had unlimited courage? What would I do? Now, what's interesting that has the research that has revealed itself most recently for me is that people of all ages, all educational background and so forth, because I do a lot of work with CPAs, the same thing comes up, is that they don't feel they have the linguistic skills in which to communicate. So they fumble, like, well, if I say this in a meeting and it comes out, or they think I'm stupid, or somebody else already thought about it, we go through all that chatter about how I probably shouldn't say it. So I always, in my training, offer linguistic skills that people can use. So for example, when I notice myself going, boy, I don't know if I should say this on CC's show or not, and there's that chatter, what will people think of me? Will they think I'm too bold? What will be, nobody's thinking that, but that's me thinking that. Is I always reach out and say, CC, this takes a lot of courage for me to share blah, blah, blah with you. So I package it and put it on the table. This takes a lot of courage for me to share this with you. Blah, 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 blah. Then people perk up, like, wow, this is a big deal for her. I need to really listen. She's really putting it out there. She's being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, even doing this show, just doing all that we do here, and all of the hosts that come on board, they're the same. They go through the same thing, and they're, very worried about video and talking, and even some of the most wonderful, awesome speakers that I've had are worried about sometimes coming on the show. And so, yeah. And so I'm like, so it takes a lot of courage to step out and do something that is, that you truly want to do, but you have that. And again, I know that it's not fear, but it's also in your heart to do what you need to do. And so you have to allow yourself to be able to
be vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not be reluctant to go for it. Well, you didn't see that in me, right? No, I was ready to go for it. So
good. I'm glad. I'm very pleased with that. So can you give us some tips if someone is knowing they need to do something, but they just haven't had that courage? They know in their heart and their spirit they're ready to take a particular step or an action. And can you give them any kind of advice as to, how to kind of maybe go within their core and really get the strength to be able to do what it is that they feel that they need to do?
Well, I know 3 jokes. 2 of the jokes I don't have the courage to tell. And the one joke that I do is, how do you know when you're getting old? And the answer is whether you respond with why not or why bother. So before my 11th hour, I want to make sure I always say why not? So once again, all the chatter is going to come up. Well, what if it fails? Well, what if they don't like me? Well, what if I get lost? Well, what if, what if? And so then we totally undermine what's really in our heart, what we're really wanting to do. We've all failed, we've all had circumstances where, if we want to call it a failure, I look at it as different. It's like I learned from it. I had one woman I interviewed in my book, just to digress, the second book. She says, Sandra, she worked for a big cable company. She goes, I took on the tough project, the project no one wanted, every time. People would say, ooh, I don't want that project because that one's going to fail. I can feel it. That one's going to fail. She goes, a couple of them failed, but I took on every project that people said was too tough. And I said, and so, and that's why you're the president and the CEO? She goes, probably, so many times people think, well, I'm being too brazen. I'm being too gutsy. We've got all these terms, I'm being too tooting my horn too much. No, you want to stand in your true self. You want to be able to walk down that yellow brick road, knowing that you're going to fall into a pothole, just whether or not you have the courage and the tools to get out. So I would say the most important thing is to begin to look at that chatter. What goes on? What are the stories that are undermining you, that keep you in your false self, moving from your true self? And then say, why not? What do I have to lose?
Right. Absolutely. My grandmother used to say used were made for me.
U-turns for what?
U-turns are made for me. Like you could do a U-turn.
Yeah.
She used to always tell me that U-turns are made for you. And it's the same thing. It's like, if there's a direction in your life you're going that you're not happy, you just make a U-turn and,
But most people will wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years. All of my interviews and different people they said, oh God, I was so glad when I finally left that toxic company, or I finally left my firm and went into my own business. I always ask them, so how many years did it take you before you did it? And it's always like 5, 6 years. In other words, they should have done it 5, 6 years ago. They knew in their heart. Mm-hmm. They knew in their heart, but it took them 5, 6 years, and they wish they would have done it sooner. Yeah. You don't want that in your 11th hour. No.
No. Yeah. I really love what you're saying about your true self, really, so I think that whenever we have a question on whether we need to make a shift or do a change or something that's happening within our lives, if we really ask our true self, if this is truly what we want, and let that chatter, just ignore that chatter and ask ourselves, is that truly what we want? I think the answers will definitely come from within. Don't you believe that?
Yes. And the other one, and I wrote an article called First Thought Upon Awakening. So I don't mean the first thought, like you go into the chatter, well, I need to get up and I need to make my shake and I need to get ready for work and I need to do this and then I need to buy that at the grocery store and all those things. I mean that very first spiritual thought that you have when you wake up. When I have those, I know I need to get on it. That's true. It's a true heart message that I'm getting, but not the one where I go into, okay, what am I going to wear? Blah, blah, blah. Not the one where I'm mentally processing things. So yeah, we know, we just discount it. And then it takes, the other thing in my research that I found validates the 25 years over and over is, I'm going to say to you, it takes a lot of courage for me to say this, but most people are not self-disciplined enough. We want a quick fix. Mm-hmm. We want a courage pill. So I wrote an article called Give Me the Damn Pill, because we really do just want an easy recipe, a quick fix, and it's a lot of times not that. So self-discipline is a huge part of courage.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I can definitely see that. Now tell me again, the article, the one you were talking about where,
well, I mentioned a couple. So there's Give Me the Damn Pill.
Yep.
There's In My 11th Hour, I Wish I'd Had More Courage. I also mentioned the one about learning a language. So as a certified coach, one of our training categories was learning about linguistic skills. What words move people to action? So I also wrote an article called The Language of Courage, that all of these you could Google, or probably on my website, or just Google, and they've been posted probably someplace, or email me.
Yeah. Well, let's go to your website. What's your website?
So let's see if everybody can get this right. So we've got Sandra.
Yes.
But the last name, nobody ever gets. And when I say that, I mean 99% of people do not get this easy last name. So it's Sandra Walston, Walston. It is not Watson. It is not Wilson. It is not. On my book signing tour, I think I was even called Sarah Wilson, something like that. Sarah. So it's
Walston.
Yes, SandraWalston.com.
Sandra Walston.
I could just remarry. I could get rid of that damn name.
Well, you never know.
I'm ready.
Gentlemen, pay attention.
There you go.
Maybe we can make that happen right here. That would be pretty awesome. But yeah, no, I think those articles are very good, and your book is awesome. And I just can't wait to give this to someone. So again, if you all want to get your free copy of this book, you most certainly can. All you have to do is just make a comment in our social media, win courage, or go into our goingsolomedia.com and sign up for our talker. And we'll send you, we'll put your name in a hat and you can win the book. Now, those that don't win it, how do they get it?
Oh, good question. Yay. So on my website, Sandra Walston, Walston, are all 3 books. Please don't support Monster Amazon. Support the author, the shipping and handling. But it's just amazing to me how people, whatever his Chairman Bozo, whatever his name is for Amazon. I mean, multi-billionaire. Come on, support the artistic writer of the book. So all 3 books are on my website, of course.
Yeah, I think some people don't realize is that most authors have the link on their websites, and so they can get their books through that way. And so, I would encourage anybody, if you're out there and you want to read somebody's book, look up their website and see if you can just purchase it that way, because it does support the author. And
exactly.
And you
want Monster Amazon is not going to go broke.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a great show. Is there any last words that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, I'd love to know what pearl, if there is a pearl, that your listeners are taking away from. And if I was to pull something out that I usually end with, I've already covered it, but it's, really, what would you do right now if you had unlimited courage? Or what courageous conversation have you been putting off? And then I have all sorts of posters that I use from quotes. So for example, make courage your daily legacy. It is a daily legacy. It's not at the end of your life where somebody gets up and talks about, oh, she did this or he did that. No, it's daily. It's the little steps, and the little steps of courage accumulate. So like I've written 3 books. I stepped up. Writing is still not easy for me. I don't love it. I don't think, oh, I can't wait. I don't do journaling. I never have. That's writing. So so I step up to the plate. But when my time comes, I accepted the calling and I did it. And I'm ready. I'm ready.
Oh, that's beautiful. Sometimes I feel that, I do feel this. It's not sometimes, but all the time. I do feel that we are giving gifts. And we have to really move forward and really honor those gifts that we're given. And I think definitely you are, even though writing may not be your thing, you do it very well. And so, it's a gift that you have. And so maybe it's when you feel that wave of whatever it is that transpire with you, like you said, like when you wake up in the morning, you need to do something. You probably get that when you're writing too. And so it's we're the lucky ones. So
that was the other article, First Thought Upon Awakening.
Yes.
First Thought Upon Awakening. That's really a critical one, to be in that level of courage-centered consciousness, so that you're living your true self.
Yeah, I'm going to go to your website and read that, because that really interests me, because I have that all the time. I'll wake up and I'll ignore it. I'll wake up and there's certain things that I know that I need to do, right, and I won't do it. And then I'll wake up again and same thing. And I'll do it several times, and I'll have the same feeling. And I think, okay, I got to go and do whatever, it is that it's telling me to do. And usually it's very, it moves my business forward. It's usually business related. And so it's very interesting that happens. So I'm going to read that article because I'd like to know a little bit more about what is happening to me, because something definitely, I'm definitely having a shift. Something's definitely happening to me.
Yeah, it's something that you're not listening to. And you just said it took you several red flags before you finally acted on it. It's probably better to Google it. You'd have to scroll through my blog, which I do. I also do a free courage newsletter that anybody can sign up for on my website. So just once a month. I do not bombard people. So, but it is free once a month. Cece, you're wonderful. You've come a long ways in your courage, girl.
Oh, absolutely. Coming from that time when I did one show and I thought I was going to pass out. I mean, I'll never forget. They took a break and they said, "Do you need some water or something? Are you going to pass out to doing this?" And now I just say, you know what? It's not about the way I look. It's not about my office. As you can see, it's very at home. My dad comes in. It's just about the information that we have here for the listeners, and we gear it all towards what we feel that they need for what they're telling us. And so we're hoping that if you guys share with us what it is that you'd like to hear, we're going to definitely bring it on the station for you. So, but wonderful show. Thank you so much for coming on. I really just enjoy it. And again, let's bring up the book. She's donated this to us so that we can give it away. And again, we have our wonderful guest, Sandra Ford Walston, and her book here is Courage, the Heart and Spirit of Every Woman, Reclaiming the Forgotten Virtue. And guys, this is a book for you too. So don't think that you can't read something like this. And I hope that you guys will also be inspired to sign up for it. Again, all you have to do is just put Win Courage on any social media for Going Solo Network. And then also, if you'd like, another way is go to our goingsolomedia.com, sign up for our Talker, which is our once a month little magazine thing that we send out. So super great. I love the show. I want to thank you so much for being on with us.
Thank you. It's really, I was really looking forward to it. It's fun because I've loved seeing how you've evolved in your courage.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And we'll definitely have you in our magazine. So when that comes out, we've got a Going Solo magazine, and we also have the Talker, which is the station's little magazine newsletter. So we'll definitely have some information there for our listeners so that they can grasp it too. And again, your website is your name, right? It's Sandra Walston, WALSTON.com, right?
Yep, www.sandrawalston.com. Pretty simple.
Right. So very easy. So hope you guys will listen, enjoy the show. Go back and listen to it again, because I have found that when I listen to the shows, I go back a couple times and I learn something totally new, because like you, I am moving forward in my life. I'm trying to make that shift, that transition, and it's just was a wonderful experience. So thank you for coming on board with us. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am Cece Schatz, the doyenne of relationship building, and this is the Going Solo with Cece show. Bye for now.